Hi, my name is Brent Satoris. I'm here with Search Engine Journal and with JP Sherman from Red Hat. JP is the Search and Findability Manager, and we're going to talk a little bit about internal search and some of your experience and some of the things that you think people that have internal search can benefit from internal search. So, you know, you've been doing it, you said, I think, for 4 years now at Red Hat. Can you give us a little insight into actually what it is you do and what it means to be involved with internal search within Red Hat?
Sure. Initially, when I started with internal search, it was in a very retail-focused orient, in this in past position. And so what we do is we look at the internal search data and figure out what people were looking for. And during that time, Google decided not to provide keyword information. So that became the #1 place, the best place, where we started getting customer insights for people who are already engaged with our site. And what we started discovering was we could actually start making really good decisions based on internal search, regardless of the scale of the number of searches. So if you have 20 searches or 1 million searches, you can still get good information and turn that into actionable data based on what people are looking for.
So obviously there's larger companies who have really good internal search, but you would say that even smaller companies, even smaller sites who have search, they should really focus on making sure that it's findable and it's usable, so that basically they can essentially identify what people are searching for. You've been doing, obviously you guys have a pretty big platform. You have some. What would you say are some of the elements that people can take from it? There's keywords, but is there any other correlation that people can take away from that internal search and utilize?
Absolutely. The focus is really on conversion. What do you want your content to do? What end result? What behavior do you want your customer to take? So in the case of Red Hat, what we do is we essentially sell free software, which is kind of unique. So you can go to the website and download our software and use it. And the way that Red Hat makes money is we sell subscriptions.
Sure.
So with that subscription, you get patches, updates, things like that. And so what makes us successful is that we are obsessively customer focused. Because if they drop the subscription, they can still use the software.
Sure.
They lose some of the benefits, but so that really drives us to create more and more ways to drive value. And when it comes to internal search, people are looking for things. If they can't update a particular piece of software, if they can't connect to a network, if their virtualizations are running weirdly, they go to the customer portal and they search for content. And what we do is we make sure that they're able to find that content quickly, make sure that the content is accurate, and from a user experience perspective, the faster people can find what they're looking for, the shortest time between query and consumption is a much happier person.
Interesting. And so the platform that you have, is that something that a regular blog can grab, or is that something that's more of an enterprise install? How does that functionally work?
Generally what we use is much more enterprise level. And when you're working with the scale that we have, you kind of have to go to the enterprise level. But there are several like WordPress plugins, Drupal plugins.
Sure.
One of the ones I used to work with was WebSphere. IBM, I think it's IBM WebSphere, and they had a good internal search. So if you're looking at kind of an e-commerce platform, a lot of them come with some level of search integration. And unfortunately, a lot of companies, they just plug it and they forget it. And so people use internal search, and a lot of companies, they don't look at the data that comes from it. They don't tie the search data into their analytics. And so search happens, and they look at search, they say, okay, people are looking for X, Y, and Z most. But then they don't do anything with it. That data doesn't communicate or integrate with any other levels of conversion or content consumption. And the biggest challenge with internal search is how do you measure, is the question, is search getting better?
Sure, and do you guys have, is there reports within the system that kind of like lead people to that, or is it something that you need to like set up with analytics so that you can kind of go in and look at it that way? How would somebody really incorporate like identifying that data?
Well, most of the time you have to set up through analytics. But there are also some really kind of very industry and goal conversion specific things that you need to answer. For example, if you're an e-commerce site, tying a search keyword to a purchase, obviously that's a success. But the most interesting thing is that when you're looking at what people are searching for, how can you actually present that information in a much more usable way?
Sure.
Other than just plugging and playing. In our case, one of the things that we do is obviously we look at query to consumption time, and if we can reduce the query to consumption time, we're doing a better job. And when you're looking at goal-based, since the customer portal in the Red Hat, we don't sell things.
Sure.
So we're looking at what do we call a conversion when you're looking
identifying
at pure
the conversion,
content.
yeah.
So the idea is tying the searches to the conversion as quickly as possible, and then from there you can actually go into, and this is definitely not plug and play. You need a lot more development support,
Sure,
personalization.
Sure.
If you have a profile, and for example, if you run a website for bicycles, and you know that your customer has purchased a road bike wheels, and a couple of cycling jerseys, you can actually bias your search results towards the customer's search and purchase behaviors.
Sure.
So if you know that they're a road cyclist, the road cyclist stuff is going to pop up a little bit better. That's a little more integration than
Sure.
generally what comes out of the box. But the important thing to really understand is that even as a plug and play, it's really important to look at what's happening with the keywords, but how those keywords are affecting actual behavior.
Perfect. Okay, JP, I really appreciate you spending the time with us. We're going to throw up some of your contact info. If some people wanted to follow you, they wanted to get some insight, or they wanted to ask some questions, what would be a way that people could easily find your writing or your information or your contact details?
I'm on Twitter, and it's @JP Sherman.
JP from Red Hat, really a pleasure to have you here with Search Engine Journal. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Link Research Tools. Feel the power, work with trust. This is Susan. As an SEO expert, she's faced with the ultimate goal: evaluate and build high-quality links to rank her customers on the first page of Google. But let's be honest, Susan is
long-term
just
success. How could we possibly begin to invest in tactics that are going to have that impact? So on our side, what I say is investing means really contributing to long-term SEO success, not owning it. And you contribute